my ghosts, goblins, witches, wizards, and all those in between. It is Miss Liz, your spooky, kooky librarian, here with a special Halloween event just for you at home to follow along with. I don't know about you, but one of my favorite parts about Halloween is all of the snacks that come. And it's not just because I love sweet treats, but it's also because of how fun and colorful and interesting they are to me. So if you're like me and want to learn to make a few spooky treats for this Halloween season, stick with me because I'm going to be showing you guys how to make your own graveyard dessert cake. You are also going to learn how to make your own monster bark, and we are going to make some candy corn colored milkshakes. So if those sound like a treat right up your Halloween alley, stick with me and I will show you how to make them.
All right, my ghost friends, to get our Ghost in the Graveyard dirt dessert started, you are going to need a few things. Pictured here are the materials that I used for my recipe, but yours can look a little different at home, and that's okay because it is your sweet Halloween treat. You can make it taste however you want. But what we're all going to start out with is the base part of our dirt dessert, which is going to include instant pudding mix, some milk, some whipped cream, and some Oreos. Make sure you have all three of those on hand. Those are the base that we are going to need for this recipe. And then the important part is all of the decorations that we're going to need for our graveyard. So you can use things like candy corn pumpkins, Hershey bars, Reese's peanut butter cups, pretzel sticks to make them look like bones. Whatever you have on hand can go in your graveyard. It's whatever you want it to look like. The fun thing that I'm hoping we have is some kind of oblong cookie. You can see in the picture I'm using some Milanos. They're in the back. But you can use things like Vienna fingers, Nutter Butters, anything that kind of looks like a gravestone shape so that we can make some tombstones and stick them into our graveyard. If you're making gravestone cookies, you are going to want to grab some kind of frosting and maybe a Ziploc bag so that you can pipe out some wording onto it. Again, this is totally optional and it can be however you want to do it. This is just the method I'm going to use in today's video, so I figured I would let you know what we're doing if you're following along with me at home. And as far as supplies go, all you're going to need is a cake pan to put your dirt dessert in, a measuring cup to measure out your milk, and a spoon to mix it all together. And once you have all of your ingredients and supplies assembled, it is time to start making our Ghost in the Graveyard dirt dessert cake. So head on down to the kitchen with me and let's get this snack started.
Hey Halloween folks, Miss Liz here. I hate to interrupt the cooking portion of this program, but I just wanted to let you know that I think a ghost came and took over my camera because for some reason the first part of the Ghost in the Graveyard didn't film, and I'm not really sure why or what happened. So I'm just going to give you a quick recap. I promise you didn't miss anything major. All I did was take the Jello pudding, instant mix, and the milk, and I poured them into the bucket, and I just mixed them up. So you're going to make this based on the directions that are on the bottom of your box, and using a measuring cup and the milk, pour it in there and just stir it up until it's a really jelly-like consistency, and then you're going to stick it in the fridge and let it sit for 5 to 15 minutes depending on how much time you have. So I'm really sorry that didn't film. I promise you didn't miss much, and I'm going to get back to the cooking portion. So now that your pudding should be chilling in your fridge, we are going to make some of our decorations. So I'm going to start out by making my gravestones. So I'm going to take my cookies, a Ziploc bag, and some chocolate icing. I'm going to stick some of the icing in that bag. And you are going to try to, when you get it in the bag, if you're making these, push the icing all the way down into one of the corners. Just like so. Then what you're going to do is take a scissor and snip off the end and make it into your very own piping bag. Push it all the way down and see how the icing starts coming out of there. That means you're good. So I'm going to take out some of my cookies, and I'm just going to start writing gravestone phrases. You could write whatever you want. You could write maybe family members' names so they know that that's their cookie. You can just write the traditional RIP. whatever you want your graveyard to look like. So I'm going to do about 4 of them, 5 of them. You could do however many you feel like doing. Once your cookies are decorated, you can set those to the side, and we are going to start crushing up some Oreos. So for this, you're going to want to use about 15 to 20 Oreos, depending on how much Oreos you like. If you're like me and Oreos are your favorite cookie, you can use more than 20. It's whatever you like, but you just don't want to overdo it because we're going to have a lot of other sweet stuff in here. But if you want to use the whole package, by all means, use the whole package of Oreos. It's your graveyard. Once you have your Oreos out, you can crush them in a few different ways. You can put them in a Ziploc bag and start banging on them. You can put them in a Ziploc bag and take a rolling pin if you have one and roll it out. Or, like I said at the beginning, because I hate doing dishes, I'm just going to use my hands to crush them, so that is more than welcome as well. Or you can even put them in a cup and take a spoon and start crushing them too. Whatever works for you. This is just how I always crush my Oreos. And it doesn't have to be super fine because this is going to be a graveyard, and we always find rocks and bumps and stuff like that in graveyards, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Like this is perfect. And you're just going to crush them until all of them are crushed. So by this point, your hands, if you crushed them like I did, are probably going to look a little messy, a little dirty. That's okay. This is the perfect time to go in the kitchen, wash them, and let's grab our pudding out of the fridge so that we can start putting our graveyard together. So go get your pudding. I'm going to get my pudding, and we will meet back here in a few. All right. So by now, your pudding should be pudding-like consistency. I don't know how to describe it. It's just the best way I can call it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fork and just give it a nice swirl really fast. This is just to see if there's any powder chunks that are still in here, like I just saw a few, because this fork is not the best thing to be making pudding with. So if you want to just check yours, you can give it a quick stir like this one. Once you've checked your pudding and it looks like you want it to do, you're going to take about half of your Oreos that you've crushed, so however many you did, and you're going to just mix them in. And then we're going to mix it into the pudding. So you're going to fold it in, which means that you're just going to take your fork, spoon, whatever you're using, and kind of just go like this. You want to get those Oreo pieces nice and covered. Spread them throughout, make sure they're even. This is so that every bite of your graveyard will have some Oreo awesomeness. Once your Oreos are nice and mixed in there, you're going to go back to your fridge and you're going to grab your whipped cream, and we're going to start putting that in as well. So I should have grabbed that before when I got up. I didn't. I'm going to go grab it, and we are going to put our whipped cream in here. Once you've gathered up your whipped cream, you're going to take about half of the container and dump it into your pudding mixture. And then we're going to fold that in as well. So I like to do mine in quarters just because I think it's easier to work with. But if you want to dump the whole thing in one slab, by all means, rock it out. After your whipped cream is folded in there, you're just going to take your stirring utensil and kind of flatten out the top of your pudding Oreo whipped cream concoction. And what I like to do, because we're going to start getting into the presentation part, is I'm going to just wipe the sides of this down a little bit, and that's just so I don't get it on my hands if I try to pick it up later on down the line. So if you have some messy spots like I do, that's okay. That's what napkins, towels, and paper towels are for. So just grab one, kind of wipe around the edge. Be careful doing this. You don't want to like stick your finger in it. If you need a grown-up's help, please, please, please go ask them. I'm sure they will be more than happy to do this part for you. It just takes a few extra seconds. And I like the way it looks when it's a little bit neater because we're about to get messy in this graveyard. All right. Once your sides are all wiped down, you're going to take some more of your Oreos and you're going to dump that all over the top. This is going to create our dirt base. So make sure you spread it evenly. You can push it around and just make sure it looks like some grass. Just make sure it looks like some dirt's in there. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these gravestones that we made before and I'm gonna stick them in. So like I said, I made some RIP ones that we can stick in. I tried to make, I don't know if you can see this at home, I tried to make a skull and crossbones. That wasn't so easy with frosting, but it kind of looks cool. So I'm gonna stick that one in there. And then just keep going, whatever pattern, however you want them to look. There's no wrong way to put in your gravestones. Then I'm gonna take clumps of whipped cream and I'm gonna start creating my ghosts. So what I like to do is you can take a spoon, I don't have a spoon next to me, so I'm gonna use my fork and just make like a circle shape and just kind of plop it in. These are our ghosts. And because they're ghosts, they don't have to be perfect looking. They come in all shapes and sizes, just like humans do. And you're just gonna plop them in that graveyard. Then you can take your frosting that's in the piping bag if you did this step, and we're gonna give our ghosts some eyes. If you didn't have frosting or you don't wanna give them eyes, you don't have to, but I'm going to. Then I'm gonna take my giant tarantula, my gummy tarantula, and I'm gonna stick him in there. Now you can also use gummy worms, skeleton bone candies, whatever you want. Because this is Halloween, I want a burst of orange in mine, so I'm gonna take some candy corns. You can also use those candy corns that are shaped like pumpkins to throw it in there so it looks like a haunted pumpkin patch. Whatever you like. And then I'm gonna use some Hershey bars to make them look like little broken rocks. If you would like to do that, if not, you don't have to. All right, and I am done with my graveyard. Now, if you wanna keep going, if you wanna keep adding more, by all means, please do. This is your Halloween sweet treat. So I do not wanna trick you by saying do not make it exactly like mine. Make it however you want. But here is my finished product. So after you're done making it, what you're gonna do is you're gonna stick it in the fridge and serve it when you're ready. So you are good to go with a Halloween dessert. I'm gonna go do that. I'm gonna stick this in the fridge and then I'm gonna come back and we are going to make another Halloween treat. So stay tuned. We are gonna move on to making our monster bark. So as you can see in front of me are all the ingredients that I'm gonna use. Your candy may look different than mine. That's totally fine. I'm gonna go through the essentials of what you do need for this one. And then everything else is up to what you like based on taste, preference, and what you may have on hand at home. So the first thing you're gonna need is some wax paper. This is super important because we're gonna melt chocolate and this is the easiest way to get your chocolate off your pan. You're also going to want a flat pan like this. It can be a cookie sheet, or it could be a serving tray, whatever you've got that's flat and kind of a large surface that you can put chocolate onto. You're also gonna want a bowl to melt your chocolate in and a spoon to stir it out with. And for this recipe, what you're gonna want are two different kinds of chocolate that you're gonna melt to make your base. So I'm gonna use white chocolate chips because I wanna use my food coloring to make them some spooky Halloween colors. But if you want to use peanut butter chocolate chips or caramel chocolate chips or butterscotch chocolate chips, that's totally fine, whatever you want to use. So I'm going to use white, but you guys can use whatever you have at home. And you're also going to need baker's chocolate to make this. So the amount of Monster Bark that you want to make is going to determine the amount of baker's chocolate that you need. I'm going to start with 2 boxes and see how it goes. I might have to make more. If you don't have baker's chocolate, that's okay. You can also use melting chocolate wafers that can be found at stores like Joann's or Michael's. You can also use chocolate chips and heating them up. Again, whatever you have on hand works. Just make sure to ask your grown-up to help you with melting chocolate because you don't want to burn it or melt it too much. So that's the important part, is to look at the chocolate you're using and melt it accordingly. After the base of this is out of the way, then comes the fun part. Then you're going to put in your Monster Bark, whatever kind of candy or ingredients that you want. So you can use stuff like Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, M&Ms. I found these really cool witch cats at Target that made me so happy because they're green. You can use Snickers, you can use Hershey bars, you can use googly candy eyes. You can use some of the Oreos that may be left over from your graveyard. You can use Halloween colored sprinkles. You can use candy corn. You could throw in, I know in the ingredients, if you emailed me, I said that I was going to use pretzels. I am not using pretzels today because I forgot to get pretzels. But you can throw in pretzels. You can throw in mini marshmallows. Pretty much the ideas are endless. So throw in your favorite treats into your Monster Bark. So take a minute, maybe pause this video, collect some of your favorite ingredients, and let's get this Monster Bark going. So the first step in creating this Monster Bark is to take out your wax paper and put it on your pan that you're going to be using as your plate. You're going to roll out a sheet as big as the pan is and plop it on in there. You're going to set that to the side. We're going to need that in just a few minutes. Next, you're going to take your bowl. You're going to take out whatever chocolate you're using, not your decorative chocolate. So my white chips are going to stay over here for a second. You're going to take out your either baker's chocolate or chocolate chips or melting wafers, and you are going to melt them according to the package. So how I'm going to melt mine is I'm going to break it up into little bitty pieces, and I'm going to throw it in the microwave. So I will be back in a few to check on it. And what you're going to want to do if you're melting chocolate in the microwave is I like to melt it on 50% power to ensure that I don't burn my chocolate. And I do it in 30-second intervals. That may seem like really tedious and like you're going to check it a lot, but I promise you it's the safest and easiest way to make sure that you're not burning your chocolate. So I'm going to go pop this into the microwave. You do the same with your chocolate, and we will meet back here in a few minutes. Once your chocolate is all nice and melted, you are going to then take it and pour it all over your pan. Be very careful if your bowl was in the microwave for a while like mine was. It may be hot, so grab a towel or something. Once you've emptied your bowl of chocolate, you're just going to take your spatula or whatever you're using and just make it flat on the pan. Once you have your bark in a nice, even, flat layer like this, you're going to take half of the candy that you're going to put on top of it, and you're going to start crumbling it on top, like I said. After you've used about half your candy, you're going to put this to the side, and we are going to go melt whatever your second chocolate is. So like I said, I'm using white chocolate, but you can use any kind of chips that you need to put on top. So you're going to go melt this, and we're going to come back and kind of do almost the same thing, but go heat this up first. Meet me back here, and then I will tell you what our next step is. So I went into the kitchen and I melted my white chocolate. As you can see, I split it up into 3 cups. That is because I want to mix 3 different colors. If you are doing something similar, make sure to separate your bowls. If you are not, you can put it in whatever you want. You can pour it on top. This is my favorite part. I love mixing all the colors together. Once all of your chocolate is down, you're going to do the same exact thing you did before, where you're going to break up some chocolate pieces or whatever toppings you're going to put on it, and you're going to lay those on top. Once you have all your toppings on that you want to be on top of your chocolate, the last step you're going to do before you let it set to harden is you're just going to kind of lightly press on top so that everything is somehow embedded in the chocolate. This is just so that when we break it up later, it will all be stuck to the chocolate. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take this, put it in the freezer, and let it sit for about a half an hour so it gets really hard so that we can crack it up and make Monster Bar. So I'm going to go throw this in the freezer. We're going to get started on our last item, and then we are going to break this up at the end. All right, so it's been about a half hour. You will know that your bark is ready to break if when you go like this, it comes up in one solid block. All you're gonna do is take a knife or a fork or a spatula and just kind of start cracking it. Also, if you want, kind of break it from the bottom, and this will give you like the bark pieces that you want. And that is our Monster Bark. If your chocolate needs a little bit more time to freeze like mine does, as you can see the colors are a little still goopy, evidence by my hands, you could stick these back in the freezer until you're ready to serve them. And then you put them on a spooky platter and your Monster Bark is good to go. So I hope you had fun making these. These ones are my favorite to make because it's really just a mixture of all my favorite candies for Halloween. So what could be better? For our last spooky snack today, it is also our easiest spooky snack today. We are going to make a candy corn colored shape. Now to make this, you're going to need a blender. You're going to need a clear cup and a straw if you prefer one. It also doesn't have to be a clear cup, but the clear cup allows you to see the candy corn colors. However, use whatever kind of cup you got. You're also going to need vanilla ice cream, orange sherbet, or if you do not like orange sherbet, you can split your vanilla ice cream into two and you can make 1/2 yellow and 1/2 orange. It's totally up to you depending on the flavor that you want. I happen to love orange sherbet, so that's what I'm going for today. You're going to want yellow and red food coloring so we can make the colors of the candy corn. And then whatever toppings you want. So you can use stuff like chocolate syrup, chocolate sprinkles, candy corn, which is somewhere down there. There we go, candy corn down there. And then I also have whipped cream in the fridge to top it off with when I'm done. So this one we're going to do in a few simple steps. You're going to start by creating your orange base. So if you have orange sherbet, you're good to go. If you want to make your orange sherbet super orange, which I'm about to do, I highly recommend that. You can do that by putting it in the blender with some food coloring. So I'm going to spoon this out, plop it in there, throw a little bit of food coloring in there just because I want it to be a nice orange color. And then I'm going to put it in the blender, which is on that side of the screen. You're just not going to be able to see it because of the extension cord. So I'm going to get this blended and I will show you the orange color when I come back. So I blended my sherbet for about 10 to 15 seconds just to get it a nice liquidy consistency. I'm going to pour it in the base of my glass to give us that orange color. Once you've got the orange layer down in your glass, we are going to start making our yellow layer. So you're going to clean out your blender so you don't have any orange coloring left in there. You're going to take a nice scoop of vanilla ice cream, dump it on in, however much you want. You're going to take your yellow food coloring, and you're going to put about 6 to 7 drops in there. Then you're going to cap your blender, and we're going to put it back on the blender like we just did with the orange. Once your yellow layer is blended, you can dump that on top of your orange. Now, how you get the white top, you have 2 options, well really 3 options because option 3 can be all of the above. You can take more vanilla ice cream and stick it on top so you get white ice cream. on top of the yellow and the orange, or you can take some whipped cream and make that your white topping. Or option C, you can put ice cream and then whipped cream, whatever you want, however you want the shake to taste. I think this is more than enough vanilla ice cream in it for me, so I'm just going to take my whipped cream as my topping, swirl it on around, and then you can top it how you see fit. So I'm going to take a few chocolate sprinkles because they kind of look like fall to me. Put them on top. I'm going to take a few candy corns, stick them in there. Then you can just stick your straw in and enjoy. Cheers. Thank you all so much for joining me for today's spooky snacks. I hope you learned a new trick and treat to bring with you this Halloween season to share with your family. If you have any questions or would like to share a picture of your Halloween treats, please feel free to email me at the email address below. I would love to see the creaturous creations you've come up with. Thank you all so much for joining me. I hope you have a safe, happy, and healthy Halloween, and we will see you soon at the library. Take care. Bye.